R.I.P. to all the real niggas worldwide.
Welcome to another episode of the Real and Unapologetic Podcast. I'm Unapologetic Reeve, joined with my cousin, your boy,
The Real C.
That's right. And this is episode number 32, building your confidence, building confidence. You know, what does it take? What's the mentality? What are the steps? And me and C gonna go through that with you. We're gonna kick it with you. And I'm standing up this whole episode. This is how amped I am. This is what it takes when you want to do something. You stand up. You know what I mean? You don't wait for the applause. Just stand up before they applaud. I'm gonna go through it with C, man. I got some questions I wrote down. So I'm gonna go through them and we're gonna kick it and just help people build your confidence. Build your confidence up, man. There's nothing that you need to be afraid of and fear when you know yourself. When you know yourself and you know whatever you're walking into, if you know and there's no fear there and you're confident, listen, you won't back down as long as you know you and your confidence within you. You know, because anybody can make you back down, man. I'm going to tell you something. I called and I thought about this because this episode was coming up. I was talking to the judge yesterday because for some reason, New York City brought back a freaking ticket that I had from 1997. And it's because of this whole new reform bill that they have for traffic violations, which helps the city of New York. There was 1.7 million tickets that suspended people's driving privileges in New York. So I did some studying or whatever, but finally I got to talk to the judge. And going where I'm going is, you know, with that bill and all that, never mind that, they pulled that up. I squashed it, but just listening to the judge, you know why so many people get in front of the judge and they're afraid and they fear? Because the judge talks with confidence and he's loud. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? If you ever walked in a courtroom, a judge is like, sir, state your name. What's your name? And if somebody says that to you, you're going to be like, oh, shit. You know what I mean? Because it's so confident and loud, you're thinking like, damn, okay. But that's the thing. If you sure yourself, that's how you should talk. Like, you got a lot of people who talk and they soft-spoken, mumble, and it shows a little sign of fear, like they're afraid. Mm-hmm. And you cannot have that. You got to build that confidence. So when you walk in a room and they go, hey, what's your name? It's Sharif. And that way, when they hear you say your name and you proud of your name and you're confident in your name, they respect you. But if you go, it's Sharif.
Yeah.
That shows
like Kevin Hart. Like Kevin Hart said, his uncle used to tell him, "Say it with your chest, motherfucker. Say it with your chest."
Right. That's it. Say
don't be mumbling. Stick your chest out and say it.
Right. That's the way you got to do it, man. You have to walk around with confidence. And like I said, me and C, we're going to get into that. So I'm going to ask C a couple questions so then that way y'all can hear. Let's start off with this. And we're going to start off with the basics, though. All right. So here we go, C. Do you have any limiting beliefs you know you need to destroy?
I can say, I used to.
Right. So that's what I mean. Tell the viewers what limiting beliefs you had that you needed to destroy, that those are blocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And number one, it was always, other people are not going to let me get to where I got to be either because of my skin color, because of where I'm from. I always thought, if they ever found out I'm from Harlem, it's a wrap. Right. But you know what? Whenever I go somewhere and they like, yo, where you from? Harlem. Loud and proud, baby. Right. Loud and proud. You got to deal with it. I don't have to deal with it. You got to deal with it now. Right. And it was always, I always thought that, especially when I was entering a new field or something, these cats know more than me. So what I used to do to change my mindset is I started making sure that I knew at least what they know, or I know more than what they know, even though they might have been at it a lot longer than I have. So it's all in preparation. Preparation builds confidence.
No doubt.
Preparation definitely builds confidence. And you just got to put in the time. They say it takes 10,000 hours to become proficient at something, to become really good at something. You better start with them 10,000 hours. You better start, Right. And a lot of cats ain't willing to put in that work. And whether they want to believe it or not. That really affects their confidence.
Building confidence involves asking the right people for help and wanting to learn. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're in high school or you're in junior high, whatever it is, college, whatever, and you don't know something, the right person would be the teacher. So don't be afraid to not raise your hand. Hey, sir, I don't understand that. Raise your hand. Be proud. Yeah, I don't understand that. I don't understand what you're talking about. That way you learn. But that's how you build confidence, because then actually they'll tell you how to do it. And then you leave there confident. You completed. And that's another thing with confidence. Completion. Mm-hmm. Everything you half-ass do, you're going to feel like a half-ass dude.
Half-ass it. Don't half-ass it. Boy, that never goes out of style, does it? I mean, think about it. If you're going to do something, if you've chosen to do something, whatever it is, easy, hard, if you give it your all and you don't half-ass it, win, lose, draw, get what you want, don't get what you want, whatever the outcome is, if you don't half-ass it, at least you're not going to have to wonder, would the outcome have been different? What if?
Instead, you know what people do? They do that half-ass shit and they wonder why they feel so 50. They feel like a 50%er. They don't feel like 100%er. They feel like a 50%er because they keep half-ass doing shit. You know, I had a guy out in the field. Bottom line, he called me. He's like, yeah, I'm having trouble. Dude couldn't open. So on these new phones and stuff, you know, you mount them to the wall. They run to about 325 feet. That runs to the network room, to the switch. He couldn't take this plastic bracket and mount it to the wall. He couldn't mount it. He couldn't disconnect it. And it was just a button to slide up. I literally walked in. I said, so what's the problem? So I'm thinking something huge. He shows me the bracket. And I was like, yeah, it's like this. Push your finger and push it up. He's like, oh, all right. And you could tell he was relieved because it was stressing him. This is what I'm saying. When you 50% something and you half-ass do it, you're not giving yourself the confidence that you need. You're saying, damn, I can't do it. So you need, whether you got to pick, and guess what? The instructions were in the box. But what a lot of guys like to do, and men do this very often, they don't want to pick up the instructions. They don't want to ask the appropriate questions. They don't want to learn the instructions. They don't want to get the proper instructions. So what they do is, I'm going to do this myself. Macho man shit. Like we talked about in one of those episodes. Yep. You don't got to be a macho man. Just read the instructions. It'll tell you. Push the button, slide it up. Simple. You save yourself 2 hours and embarrassment for somebody going, this was simple as shit and you couldn't figure this out. So how can I trust you to do anything else? This is what we got to think about. Stop doing the 50% shit. Yeah. Actually figure it out. Ask those tough questions to the right people. Read the instructions. I don't give a shit if it's IKEA instructions and they're difficult. Even if you got to drive back to IKEA and ask them to read them.
And learn from your mistakes. Because a perfect example, and I'm going to use, because you just mentioned the word IKEA. A while back, this had to be, I think probably when I was still living in Brooklyn. We had bought some furniture from IKEA, and I'm like, yeah, I can knock this out. I'm going to put it together real quick. Boom, boom. Of course, the instructions was in the box, but I ain't read them, right? So everything looked the same to me, but you know what? By the time I put it together, I was like, why the holes is on the wrong side? Right. I had the whole joint together. I had to take that joint apart. And when I read the instructions, it told you, this hole goes on this side, hole goes on that side. So from that lesson, working them 2 hours, putting that joint together, and then working an hour and a half to take it back apart, and then another 2 hours to put it back together, I was like, from now on, every time I open something up, I got to do some work, I'm reading the instructions first.
Right.
Saves crazy time.
Save crazy time, and now he took that lesson and he added into his philosophy. Now it's a part of him. Now that's a part of how he thinks, what he teaches, what he preaches. That's a part of him. That's how you become 100%er, because he took that lesson and was like, all right, this is my approach on everything else. So everything else is going to be completed. Now, if he would have continued with the same attitude, wasted 2 hours trying to figure it out himself, take it apart, never going into the box to read the instructions that they send with everything that you buy, he would be going through the same cycle over and over and over again. You know how many people do that? You know how many times I've done it when I was younger, and I wasted so much fucking valuable time. I wasted so much time, doing shit that just was a waste of fucking time. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Just constantly over and over doing it. I could think about so many things, man. Like, remember when I attempted to do breaks first? I was like, all right, I'm gonna do them. But the moment what was it? This is back in the days when you had to read you had the books. So it wasn't a lot of YouTube or whatever. Even though YouTube was there.
You had to go get that Chilton book. The book. A specific car that you was working on.
Yeah, for the car. Right. Yeah, that joint. So you had to get that book. I had to get the book, go through, read the book, boom, and it told you how to remove and do the brakes. And it was on a Saab. And I learned. But if I didn't have a book, I'd have been there all day. Now, Can I figure it out? Yes, you can figure it out. Definitely. Before they wrote the book, somebody had to figure it out. But being that they have the book, save yourself some time. It's no different than anything else. Me and C, we're in the stock market, and we every day. But do you think we just jumping? No, man. We got so many tools, things that we read. I'm still studying. C's still studying. Every time, and then we use it. We learn it, then we use it. We learn it, then we use it. And we constantly keep doing that until you get better and better and better. That's with everything in life, man. That's how you build confidence. So I'm going to ask C one more question. This is another way to build confidence. You got to know what people see in you. Stop doubting yourself. And I'm going to ask C this. See, what do other people see in you? What qualities do they see in you?
You know, for a while, and it took me a long while to realize this. You know, when I used to go and get a job, I always used to think I got lucky. You know, I'm like, oh, word, I aced the interview. I got lucky. Yeah, they hired me. But I never had that confidence built in me where I was like, yo, I aced that interview. It was always, I got lucky, man. They, for whatever reason, they liked me. And, you don't need, and then further on down the line, I realized, a lot of us get caught into that trap where you got skills, whether it's leadership skills, whether it's communication skills or something, but you feel you always need that job to validate that.
Right.
You don't need that job to validate that. Once you look back and you'll see a pattern in your life. And I started to see a pattern in my life that, every single job that I ever had, I thought so lowly of myself that I start at the bottom. I always started at the very bottom. But looking back, every job that I had, I worked my way into management. Every single job. So I'm like, I'm just getting lucky, I guess. Somebody must like me. Not thinking that, you got skills.
Right.
You got skills.
Right. And
it took me years to realize that. And you got to start looking back at your life and say, you know what? This happened. And again, it's that self-assessment. Now, self-assessment, you got to look at the good parts of self-assessment, and you got to look at the bad parts of self-assessment. But you'll see a trend and a pattern develop. And then you got to take advantage of that pattern. You be like, every place I've been, I started at the bottom and worked my way up into management in a short amount of time. Don't think of it as luck. You're doing something right. And once you realize what you're doing right, then it's time to enhance those things that are making you move, making you get promoted. And you got to keep building on them. Like I said, it takes 10,000 hours to become really good at something. But you got to put in the work. You got to put in them 10,000 hours. Regardless, anything that you ever wanted to do, somebody got the instructions for. All you got to do is be humble enough to ask. If you see something,
ask the right people.
That's right. All you got to do is just ask. There's nothing wrong with asking. If you're sitting in class and you don't understand, I tell my kids, look, we paying this college tuition. The teacher works for you. You make that teacher earn his money. He's not earning his money if he's just talking all class long and you just sitting there like this.
Right.
Make him work. Ask them questions. See how good he is. See how proficient he is at teaching.
Right.
Push him to the limit. Ask them questions that everybody in the class wants to ask, but they like, I don't want to sound dumb. I'm just going to sit here like a bump on the log and just whatever. And I'll hopefully I'll figure it out. Yeah, that's why you getting them C's. That's why you getting them D's, because you trying to figure it out when all you got to do is ask. Yeah. All you got to do is ask, man.
Yeah. That's why I said that, man. That it involves asking appropriate people for help. You have to ask the appropriate people for help, wherever that is. And, you know, don't be afraid to model yourself behind all these people, those people that you trust, those people who have the information, who have the knowledge. Don't be afraid to model yourself behind them. You're not copycatting. What you're doing is just you're picking their brains so you can get that information so you can do the same or do even greater. You know what I'm saying? And majority of people, I'm gonna say, 98% of people are going to be open to teaching you, or when you start picking their brain and asking questions, because people love when they see people who are hungry, especially if there's somebody in there great. You know what I mean? Somebody like a Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, and he has some intern that comes in and he's like, yo, and he's picking his brain. Yeah, he's going to feed him because he sees, he wants to model himself behind me so he can duplicate what I've done. You know what I'm saying? And even greater. So, like she said, we got to ask appropriate questions, man. Don't be afraid to do that. And so here's another one. So another important thing is knowing, when it comes to confidence, knowing, and I'm gonna ask a question, but knowing the people that are around you that are important, that love you and everything. So who are you lucky to have in your life? Who loves, supports, encourages, and believes in you? And how does that make you feel?
I say that I'm in a lucky position, man, because, you know, my family, and I'm talking about all members of my family, yo.
Right.
They support, you know, in their own way, but they support. Everybody's got my back, and I know that. And just by knowing that everybody's got my back, yo, that's even more confidence.
Right.
That's even more confidence, you know. And when they come to me and they ask me a question, or they ask my opinion on something, and I know that they gonna value what I have to say, they know that I'm gonna help them when I can. Well, that's a confidence booster like a motherfucker, yo. Our peeps are good, yo.
That's why it's important having those right people around you, man. Your circle, that's gonna help build your confidence. You look at the 5 people around you, because I heard plenty of people say this. That's basically who you are. And I'm not saying that's who you are, but that's who let me just say that's who you're going to identify to and with. So it's not, you're going to, because you can have your dad, like my dad was homeless, or you can have your brother who was out on the streets, gangbanging, or you can have your cousin who was doing, and those could be the closest people. That doesn't mean that's who you're going to become, or you're going to emulate, or you're going to imitate. Or what I'm saying is that's who you're going to identify with. Mm-hmm. And it's a difference. That's not who you're going to become, because you can change your game up, you can change your mindset, you can become somebody totally different, but you're going to identify it to them. So it's like when she said, he didn't say, and that's what it was, is the identity. When he went into a room and he would say, they'd be like, where you from? And he would kind of like, should I say just Manhattan?
That's what I used to say, right.
Manhattan, but I'm actually from Harlem. So he wasn't confident because he didn't identify with those people. But when he said, when he learned that, yo, that's something you got to swallow. That ain't I don't got to swallow that. I'm from Harlem. So you got to look at the people around you. Can we all say that person's 100% confident? That person's 100% confident. You don't want to be, I'm not saying you don't want to be around people who are 50%ers, but it's going to affect you eventually. If you stay around that for a long time, it's going to affect your knack to interact with people, to hustle, to grind, to do things, because you want 100%ers around you. So in that way, you're competing and you're living at 100%. So make sure you got key players around you that are putting that work in. So this is the one thing. And the last thing I want to say, this is a question I think that's most important on building confidence, with confidence building. And it's, am I willing to endure the discomfort that is a part of this confidence building process? And a lot of people are not willing to enjoy the process. They think when it gets uncomfortable, you should quit. They think when it gets uncomfortable, it's not going to work. They think when it gets uncomfortable, it's not for them. And when it's uncomfortable, that shit is yours. Mm-hmm. That is yours.
Yeah,
that's yours right there.
And you got to change that mindset. My mindset now is when it gets uncomfortable, I got to push even harder. I got to swing even harder. I got to do whatever. I got to put in more work so I can get out of this uncomfortable feeling. And that uncomfortable feeling comes when you don't have no confidence. Yeah. And you got to push past that. You got to go through the process. You have to. That's the only way around it. You know, and you know, I got to tell this story again, man. Yeah. Yo, back in the day playing football, man, you know what? I knew I was okay. I always thought I was okay, you know, but again, it was other people seeing more in me than I saw in myself. I was that kid with no confidence. You know what? I had football skills. So when my coach told me, yo, you can't play with the 13 and 14-year-olds no more. You got to play with the 16 and 17-year-olds now. Yo, that took my confidence away. I'm like, yo, I can't play with these big ass kids. But yo, I loved playing football. So the first day at 16, 17-year-old practice, nigga, I hid in the bushes. I was so scared.
Yeah. But yo, think about that. That's what should have uplifted and lifted your confidence, because the fact that you are younger and they said, yo, go play with these older kids, that meant that you had the abilities to do and perform like them.
Right. But being the coach and not knowing, I'm thinking my coach don't like me. He don't want me on the team. He want to send me to another team. So I was like, why? He don't want me to play with them no more, man. So I was upset. But yo, you know what? When your desire to do something is greater than your fear,
yeah,
that pushes you. Yeah. That pushes you to overcome that fear. And when you overcome that fear, guess what that gives you? Confidence.
No doubt. That goes back to what, you know, like C's coach giving him and pushing him to that next level. That was like in the Bible. You know, for all you folks that relate to the Bible, and that's what you rely on to move forward, to grow, whoever you pray to. In the Bible, it says, you know, people just say this about the Bible, about God, that the Lord doesn't give you anything you can't handle. Anytime you get a lot of opportunity, that's automatically adding to your confidence. You should add it there, because people don't just give opportunities to people they don't feel they can do the job. And that's just not how it is. So you have to look at those opportunities and be like, wow. And I'm talking about when you really working hard. I ain't talking about just you sliding through and just getting by. That I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about those key players that are out there and putting that work in, and those opportunities are coming. And when opportunities are coming like that, man, you deserve them, man. So feel confident, be confident in that you're doing the right thing. You're doing the right job. Don't matter. It doesn't matter what the naysayers and the haters are saying, man. They're going to always say that because they're not getting that opportunity. You want to close this out, C, on confidence? Building confidence, you got to be able and willing, like Reeve said, to go through that struggle, go through them uncomfortable times. Them uncomfortable times is testing your mettle. Those uncomfortable times is testing whether or not you worthy of this opportunity. And you should always think you worthy. So you just got to push through it. You know, don't stop. Oh man, this is too hard. There's no way I can learn it. You know what? Find somebody that can help you learn it. If it's really what you want to do, find some. Yo, especially nowadays, man. Yo, these cats got YouTube. You can find a YouTube video on anything. Anything. Seriously. Yo, on the real, you said anything. I'm just going to say this, you know, because this is the RNU podcast, but they have YouTube tutorials on. And listen, the kids, don't even go look this up, but on cooking crack. Everything. Yo, if you can find that, then you can find, and that's why I'm saying that, because that's the lowest to search for. And if you can find that, you can find anything else that you want to learn. You use the tools that you have, man. Like I said, there's tools for everything, man. It makes the job a lot easier, but you got to use them. Number one, you got to search out the tools. Well, what tools do I need to build this? Right. Search those tools out, and then once you find what tools you need, put them to use, man. Them tools should be worn out by the time you finish. That's how you got to where you are. Your tools is all broke up. Your pliers done fell apart. Your hammer handles all busted up. Yo, use them tools, man. Nah, that's real. That's real, man. That's it, man. And like I said, if you got anything to add to any tools or anything that should be added to this list to help build your confidence or to help others build their confidence, make sure you subscribe to the video, to the Real and Unapologetic podcast, the Real You podcast, the R&U podcast. Make sure you subscribe, you like the video, you comment. Make sure you do everything that you got to do to stay a part of the Real You podcast. You know what I'm saying? Look us up on IG at the Real You podcast. You know what I mean? And that's TheRealu, like the letter PODCAST podcast. You know what I mean? And again, I'm Unapologetic Reef, and that's my cousin, your boy,
Real C.
Yeah, so episode number 32, and we out.
Yeah.
I ain't never had a problem getting trim. Little mama, your pussy ain't work per diem. Heavyweight, I ain't gotta stay in no gym. Line them up, knock them down, bim. Tilt my brim, baby, I'm not him. They gon' stand in line for it like in my museum. On my life, me and my wife, run this city, can't snatch these straight. We don't care what they talking about, fuck them lies. Yeah, man, cause the bankroll ain't this side. Mass on mass out, we outside. Tell VH1, shout out, we gon' slide. Anything we could ever lose over lie, people told on us, meaning never was ours. Think shit again, nigga, come try. Put it on my chain, but yeah, get fried. All on IG, nigga won't try me. See me in real life, won't buy me. Hold up, you ain't even never seen these type, consider me a supreme being. Nigga, king skinny as a string bean. Get a crime scene, let it ring. On a game changer, seeing green thing. Nigga talk tough, but they don't mean things. All of my jury on high beam, my respect level on high steam. Since high school, be doing my thing. Stay strapped straight like lightning. That why your opinion more like no opinion. Never gave a fuck about a whole opinion. You know, some told me not to go up.